I've been pretty good. Haven't done a whole lot of comics reading because not for any good reason. Like Danny, I'm just bad at this. But I did manage to find time to sit down and read Life is Strange, Forget Me Not #1. It's written by Zoe Thorogood, with art by Claudia Leonardi, colors by Andrea Izzo, and letters by And World Design. Um, if you've been listening to the show for a while, I'm sure you've heard me talk about Life is Strange before. This franchise has been living rent-free in my head since 2016. Originally a video game, but they did put out a comic series that's sort of like, I mean, it's based on the game, on one ending of the game. It's one of those things where like the game could go in a handful of different directions depending on choices you make. So you'll always find some folks who are mad and saying that this is not the real story.
Oh boy.
But Forget Me Not picks up after a possible ending of the most recent game in the series, Life is Strange True Colors, which follows our main character, Alex Chen, who spends her time in the sleepy town of Haven Springs, Colorado, trying to solve the mystery of her brother's death and expose the villainous mining company responsible for it. This comic picks up immediately after the resolution of that, when Alex and her girlfriend Steph have left Haven Springs to go on tour as their I don't know what genre of music they are, actually. I was going to say punk band, but that doesn't feel right.
Folk punk is what I got out of the feeling for some reason, but
maybe I just have punk on the brain because they did bring back Chloe Price from the original series for this book. And she is your classic punk with a heart of gold.
Gotcha. Well, Danny and I also checked this book out because Titan gracefully gave us an advance copy. I don't know if it came out already, but we did have a copy of it.
It comes out on the 13th, so yeah.
Okay. So it comes out when this episode drops. Yeah, okay. So yeah, taking a look at this book, I have no idea about anything in the Life is Strange like universe or story, but I got this book. I thought it was pretty straightforward. I'm sure that there were characters and people and references that I didn't pick up on or whatever, but there was nothing about this that made me feel like I was lost. I kind of got the gist of most things, but I don't know. Danny, what did you think about this?
Very similar. I want to say that the only other Life is Strange stuff was another book that maybe we read for like a Goodreads challenge or something. Maybe Brian might have even recommended that.
Maybe.
I'm sure I made you read it at some point.
Yeah, because I remember not Alex, Chloe.
Max.
I remember Chloe.
Oh, Chloe.
At least the characters look familiar. But kind of like with when I read the Hack Slash book that's coming out, I also have never read any of that. But I felt like I think Zoe did just a really good job of like making sure I could come in and kind of just go with the flow. And you know, we've been reading comics for a long time, so like it's not unusual for us to kind of jump into the middle of a run. And this felt very similar to that, right? Although there's a lot less Wikipedia entries for the specific comics. But yeah, I was like, I really liked it. The characters was like, oh, this looks like fun, and then it got weird, and then it got kind of sad. And then
that is the Life is Strange experience, my friend.
That's how I've understood it to be.
It's fun, it's weird, it's sad.
yeah, but it also looks beautiful. Like I really like, especially when, like I said, I don't know exactly. I guess when the characters are like kind of manifesting their powers or their abilities, there's like some coloring behind them. It almost feels like they're about to like go Super Saiyan or something, like the early stages of that.
Alex's power, I don't remember if it's explained explicitly in this book or not, but her power is that she can read the emotions of other people.
Right.
And that manifests as a colored aura around them.
Interesting.
So blue for sad, red for anger, and so on.
Gotcha. So we a lot of blue in this issue in particular.
Yeah, and I really liked how they showed the fact that like sometimes a person's thoughts will like spill over when she's reading their emotions, and you got that when she was reading her girlfriend Steph.
Yeah.
When you started to see like little bits of like Steph's own self-recriminations as she's sort of like beating herself up in her head.
Yeah. The cool, like it was almost like a collage of images, just kind of like in the background. And then also with another character, the manifest power is also very similar. Like everything just kind of spills out onto the page very chaotically, with our character just kind of in the forefront of that. So I thought that was very cool. So I'm really on board with this book, even though I've never played these video games and I've only read one other comic book about this.
Sure.
Yeah, I can't help but wonder if, because they introduced Lily as this new character who has the power to take away someone's memories. So I'm a little part of me is wondering, like, are we going to dig into where superpowers come from in this world? And I think probably not, but it's always been like something in the back of my head that's just like, hey, how come this random girl can rewind time? Are we ever going to talk about that? No? Okay.
Because that's the premise of the first game, right? Or
Yes.
the first couple of games, right?
The first game, yeah.
Gotcha. And so I guess having read any of the other comics, I'm assuming you've read some of them other than this before, Brian?
Yeah.
Do you feel like, or does each one kind of feel like it's adding more to the series? Do you feel like it's just like little side stories just to kind of like, I guess I also add to the series, but maybe not answer questions, just kind of like be a little bit of extra content for diehard fans?
Yeah, I think I only ended up reading the first, I think, 3 or 4 volumes out of 6 for the original series.
It's only.
Yeah, I like that Brian says that like it's not a lot.
Yeah.
That's like maybe 24 issues or something.
Yeah.
Something like that, yeah. That story takes place when like Max has broken through into an alternate reality, basically, where Chloe and Rachel have both survived, because most of the first game is keeping Chloe from death. Girl dies in every episode of the game.
Oh jeez.
I'm pretty sure that's the one I read too, because it sounds familiar. I know there was like a hurricane or something that she chose not to stop to save this person, or maybe the other way around. Either way, very
you
sad.
could stop
right
a hurricane with time travel powers? Is that what I just heard?
Well, they go into kind of like it's the butterfly effect explanation, where like when she saved Chloe's life with her time travel powers, she caused the massive tornado to come wipe out their hometown.
Yeah.
Okay.
When she did that, Ashton Kutcher rolled into town, and then a hurricane came out. Yeah.
Ashton Kutcher came into town and personally killed everyone there.
Yeah.
Oh man. Well, I guess Brian, as someone who's a big fan of this series, or someone who's at least dedicated a lot of time to reading the comics and playing the games, how did you feel about this book? At least from the get-go.
I thought it was great. I think Alex and Steph's relationship is something that I'm invested in. I think they're both great characters, and I think they're both good for each other. Steph has a hard time expressing her emotions, and Alex cannot help but read them.
I see.
So, I think that'll be fun. I think the book mentions this a little bit, but they don't really go into a lot of details. But Alex grew up in the foster care system after her father basically abandoned their family and her mother died. So she connects to this character, Lily, who is couldn't be more than 10 years old, who they just find in the street. And my first question is, well, why don't you just like call the police or something? Why are you just taking this kid on tour with you? But then I thought about it, I was like, well, Alex grew up in the foster care system, so she knows exactly how bad that can be.
Right. There was a line in the comic too where one of them asks, we don't know what she's running from, which is it's one of those nebulous kind of things to consider. Like, if we call the cops, are they just going to take her back to the situation she was trying to get away from? There's a lot there. So I it's interesting to get that context that that character also grew up in the foster system, because that adds a lot more color to the situation.